The leaders left to watch from the periphery after the court locked them out. The opposition has said it will respect the court's decision but insists the poll was null and void and vowed to proceed with their civil disobedience push through the people's assemblies. And still, this morning, the memories of the chaos that rocked NASA leader Raila Odinga's return on Friday are still fresh. And after the weekend chaos, tear gas and gunshots rented parts of the city, Kenyans are left wondering what happened. And what was the NASA leader up to abroad? Welcome to The Way It Is this morning, where we would like to set and digest some of this and much more. In studio to drive this discussion, I have Ambrose Weda, who is a lawyer. We have political analyst Kilu Delano, who is also a security expert, and Kefa Ojijo, a political analyst, but an advocate of the High Court. Welcome, gentlemen, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Mike.
And, well, of course, the weekend is still very fresh, and starting from Friday's arrival of the NASA leader Raila Odinga, which, well, his supporters were to go to the airport and welcome their leader, but it turned out to be a chaotic event. Let me start with you, Kilu, because you're a security consultant and you probably looked through and can poke holes or uphold what the police service or force, whichever way you want to look at it, had to do, because it ended up being a very chaotic day as opposed to being one where police would escort the protesters or supporters, in this case, to receive their leader Raila Odinga and just have a procession into town.
Thank you, Mike. As Secretary General of the Protective and Safety Association of Kenya, where our members are really involved in the business of security, both from a public and private sector perspective, I would first of all strongly condemn all activities that led to loss of Kenyan lives between Friday and yesterday. And this, of course, is not something that we can tolerate or accept as a nation. It's something that we must widely condemn because human life has sanctity and we must safeguard all human life, regardless of our political affiliations or our political inclinations. In the case of Friday, it's very unfortunate that what was supposed to simply be a triumphant return for the opposition leader or Raila Odinga into Kenya turned out into all kinds of activities. First of all, there was just supposed to be a normal return from a foreign trip, and of course the supporters that were waiting for him, who are eager to receive him, declared that they are going to go into what we call a high security zone. The national airport, JKIA, it's an international airport, is a very high security zone. Of course, that raised alarms within the police and the security systems. And of course, then the challenge came to say, no, we cannot permit that because we will not be able to control security within that particular vicinity. Once that had happened, then of course, the instructions were given that certainly that should not occur. We should not welcome because there's a security risk. Of course, we were not shared with what the particular security risk was. However, the fact that now that was, the police came out very clearly and said this cannot and it will not be permitted to happen, then I think also as leaders, as political leaders, we need to take responsibility for the lives of our followers. And if we feel that there is any risk for any of our followers, for life or limb, we should avoid any form of risk in terms of them being affected, in any case, allowing them to get into confrontations with police. So it then turned out into somewhat of a mess in terms of now you have a large entourage trying to go to a place where they're not being permitted to go to. And so we saw, even prior to the flight arrival, we saw there was all kinds of skirmishes along North Airport Road. We saw cars being burnt down. We saw buildings being stoned.
And maybe just to try and put this together, do you think from a security perspective, this was poor planning from the police end? Because from a layman's perspective, and I could be wrong, and maybe many Kenyans probably would have thought that way, there would have been nothing wrong with allowing, say, 5 people or 10, whatever number that they come up with, who will go and meet their leader, have the rest possibly stopped from going into the high security zone. And from there, once the leader comes out, they march into town.
I think it was supposed to be something that was properly planned and properly communicated and properly explained to all, from both sides. Both from the opposition side as well as from the police side. And there should have been a proper coordination of the activities. About the march into town, again the question begs, was that particularly necessary to march through the CBD during a day when there's normal activities going on, and of course during a period when the exams are continuing and demonstrations have been banned? Again, that question comes into play. So in terms of, from a security perspective, certainly there are many challenges to do with planning for such kind of events. Again, there was no idea of how many people would attend or would participate in it, apart from the fact that there were several thousands. There was voluntary information that came forth that there were several thousands of people that were going to be involved in that particular activity. But there was planning. Now, unfortunately, and I have to add this, Mike, there was also planning for the negative activities that occurred on that day. There was funding and planning for whatever.
What makes you say so? Because
in every single case, in security, 100% of the time, there is what we call a cycle of attack. Any incident that you see that is of criminal nature, something has been planned prior to its execution. If I get up today, if right now I said to you, Mike, you know, today we're going to go across the road and we're going to rob Diamond Trust Bank, get ready at 8 o'clock, we're going to go and do it. What would you say? You would say, Delano, hold on. You know, I don't feel like we can just go and rob them on Trust Bank. First of all, we need to know what kind of security they have, whether they even have money in the place. So somebody always plans something, whether it is looting, whether it's stealing a chicken, a banana, a mango, somebody always plans. So for the criminal elements that then infiltrated and got involved in activities that led to the death of Kenyans, I think this is something that we have to condemn. And we do understand that there are matters that are going under investigation currently as we speak. However, at the end of the day, it's very important that we understand that no thing is just spontaneous when it comes to crime.
All right, Kefa, your thoughts on the events. First of all, starting all the way from Friday, we'll come to yesterday's events, but starting from Friday, is it just a lack of planning? Again, are the leaders being responsible when it is clear that we still, as a country, have not reached a point where we can have peaceful demonstrations without loss of life?
Thank you very much, Njenga. First of all, allow
Michael,
me to, yes, Michael. First of all, allow me to correct my colleague. I don't think it's proper. It will not be, professional for him to say that some of the people are funded to cause violence, because I don't think that is the position, and he cannot deliver fact for that or evidence to that. Number two, this is not the first time when a leader is being welcomed in this country. We have seen it. In 2002, we have thousands of people welcoming Kibaki from the airport and a march through to town. After the ICC issues, we had the president being welcomed by hundreds of people, and a procession was held all the way to town. So I don't think why it becomes now a Raila matter, now it should be a big issue, or now it should be seen as something that is against the law. If you read Justice Onguto ruling that gave life to Article 37, and it reads pari material clearly that the right to procession, the right to demonstration cannot be limited. It is the duty of the police to ensure that all those who are participating either in the procession or in a demonstration, in whatever means, are protected by the police all the way through. And the police must be in a position to separate those who are out to cause harm and those who are out to demonstrate or be in a procession. You see, so this idea of the people who are out to destroy other people, and remember, this was not a demonstration. This was just a procession. The police had been informed, I'm told, 5 days prior to this event. You see, it is the police to put in place the mechanisms.
So would you say that this was a result of failure on the police's part?
Definitely. It is a clear failure on the part of the police.
Okay.
If people are in the procession, people are marching towards town, and you start tear gassing these people, you start using live bullets on these people, you start chasing away these people, what do you expect? The people will also feel like you are pushing them too much. They have to push it back.
Okay, Weda, your thoughts on the police failed?
My thoughts are not on the police failed. It is about, in principle, I think welcoming Honorable Raila back home was a normal thing. In 1992, at the height of the Moi regime, I remember myself and others, and several others, we went out to welcome Honorable Matiba from London against the will of the police. And we welcomed him. We didn't go into the airport. We welcomed him. He came back, and we went to town. And then history was written thereafter. I really do not think that those who organized his welcoming wanted it to be a peaceful procession.
You don't think they wanted it to be peaceful?
I don't think so.
Why do you say so?
Because if you saw the leaders themselves, it would be a question of saying, we are welcoming Honorable Raila on this date, his arrival is at this time. That is a conversation between the leaders organizing and the police. Then the police, on the other hand, will be saying, this road will then be used for you. You will use this road up to this extent. If you look at the airport, there's nowhere where you can accommodate even 500 people. So definitely the farthest they can go is at the junction from Mombasa Road into the airport. So it would have been said, we will receive him at this time, then we'll begin the procession here. Now, you saw the leaders chanting. I saw the women rep Homa Bay chanting war crime, war songs. Honorable Raila, war songs. The others, people like others were promising war songs. So the atmosphere was polluted. On the other hand, the police also did not go and get the plan and say, how are we going to do it? They themselves realized that this is an occasion to organize your tear gas and your bullets and be ready. So the chaos came in because the police failed. The leaders who are welcoming Raila also failed, because the intention was basically to ensure that they reflected a resisting mood. But otherwise, if they just wanted to welcome Jacob, even us, we would have gone to help them, welcome him. Now that he didn't find the route to Canaan, we would have said, welcome home.
All right, I'll pause you there, and I want us to take a short break. When we come back, I want us to also focus on the events of yesterday, because that could be a worrying trend for Kenya, given the information that was coming out, but also not to give credit if credit is not worth to be given in terms of it being political or ethnic. We'll need to look at that, but also would also like to look at the ruling that is going to be given today. So that's all coming up right here. We're taking a short break. We'll be right back.